Now I'd like to invite the Honourable Robert Hill, one of Australia's most distinguished leaders, to the podium. Honourable Hill has been of service to our country as a long-time Senator from South Australia, Leader of the Government in the Senate, Minister for the Environment, Minister for Defence, and most recently Australia's Ambassador to the United Nations. In this role, Honourable Hill has been a pacesetter of new ideas, changing our country's approach, for example, to complex issues like how we manage the Great Barrier Reef, how we negotiate climate policy, and navigating a complex landscape in Australia's military involvements overseas. Since leaving politics, the Honourable Robert Hill has joined the US Study Centre at the University of Sydney as the Adjunct Professor of Sustainability and was recently selected by the Prime Minister to chair the Australian Carbon Trust. I'm personally looking forward to his contributions to the board of the Global Change Institute and am delighted that he could be here with us today to address us. Professor Hill.
Well, thank you. To Her Excellency, the Governor, Chancellor, Deputy Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, so many distinguished guests, I'm very appreciative of being invited to say a few words to mark the inauguration of what I think will be a very important body. Listening to Ove, I was reminded that in a former life he used to give me a hard time. But we like to think that out of it something good came for the Great Barrier Reef. But it does indicate to me that he's probably the right sort of person you want to lead this initiative. You've just heard that I most recently worked as an Australian representative at the UN, something I have in common with your governor. And I sometimes think that perhaps the most stimulating aspect of that work at the United Nations is that every day it's almost as if you're within a goldfish bowl of the global community. You learn to share each other's hopes and aspirations, problems and issues. And when I think about the challenges of global change, I do so from the perspective of the global community. Perhaps I see it a little differently to some others. I think that whilst we tend to dwell on the enormity of the challenges ahead and often on problems and failings, perhaps we don't think enough about what has changed for the better. Change that has come about through the taking of opportunities. With a global population of over 6 billion, for many their health is better than it's ever been. They're eating better food and more are living longer. They're being educated and to higher levels. More are in paid employment, giving them options beyond subsistence living. More live in homes that protect them from the elements, often with energy and water, and even more than has been the case in the past with sanitation. For many, work is less physically demanding. For more than ever before, work is a rewarding experience in itself rather than just a means to survival. Many now travel without great physical exertion. Many experience leisure. In other areas, less of the global community die from wars and violence. Wars between states are practically non-existent. More than ever before, people do not fear their rulers. They're not so often subject to arbitrary abuse from those in authority. They're not enslaved or thrown into armies. And with air travel no longer the preserve of the wealthy, with television proliferating, with computers, the internet, and particularly recent times cell phones, information and knowledge has spread across the globe in ways that would have been unimaginable only a few years ago. And what I think is particularly exciting is that more than ever before, we see ourselves as having a shared destiny. When there is a natural catastrophe, as we saw in Haiti, people from all over the world know what's happened and want to help and now have some capacity to help. When there's starvation in Africa, we call upon the World Food Programme, which we set up, to provide food and to help. When there's a threat of a pandemic, we call on the World Health Organization to assist. When people are being exploited in work, we call upon the International Labour Organization. When people are forced to flee across boundaries, we call on the High Commissioner for Refugees to assist. Or when there's need for development, there's UNDP, UNICEF, and if it's women's health, UNFPA. When war threatens, we turn to the Security Council. When state finances fail, the IMF or the G8, or more recently the G20. And we commit to a new global financial architecture. We've organised ourselves as a global community in what I think is a quite extraordinary way. We send peacekeepers to help end conflict wherever and whenever. We've established an international criminal court to end the impunity of the powerful. We now say that with sovereignty comes responsibility. We laud participatory democracy with the rights of people to determine who governs, and we commit to helping states that are poor and weak to development. But obviously this is all work in progress, and it will ever be so. There are many who are still not the beneficiaries of this change. And as the global population, in part as a result of our successes, soars towards 9 billion, there will be ever-increasing pressures on those natural resources that sustain life. And our biodiversity, the richness of life on our planet, will be increasingly threatened. But we've shown that we can change. We've shown that we can change the climate in an adverse way. We must now show that we can undo the damage. We will be challenged in food security, energy security, water security, and our capacity to safely manage our waste. And there will be the continuing challenge to build a global community in which even more share the benefits of mankind's successes. I know we can find answers to these challenges, as we've done in the past, but it won't come by chance. It will require new thinking, new technologies, new methods of implementation. And it's on that basis that I recognise the University of Queensland as being prepared to show a lead. And in being prepared to show leadership, I'm obviously prepared to support in any way I can. So I commend the University on this initiative, and I hope that it will make significant contributions to the betterment of mankind in the future. Thank you.